Early spring, 1820. A 14-year-old boy walks into this grove with a phrase ringing in his ears: ask of God. He knows that his mother has prayed here. He knows that if anyone lacks wisdom, he does. And if it be asked, was he asking for forgiveness of sin, or was he asking which church to join? The answer is both. He kneels, and this is the first vocal prayer of his life. And in this prayer, he expresses his need and then senses not light, but darkness. His tongue cleaves to his upper mouth. He feels surrounded. He feels even threatened for his very life. And then, suddenly, he becomes aware of a descending pillar of light, and expects, according to Orson Pratt, who asked him about it, that it is so bright and so filled with glory, only he used the word fire, that when it reached the top of the trees, they would burst into flame. And at his first glimpse of the light, he is delivered from the darkness. In Kirtland later, he says to a group of high priests that one personage was first apparent to him, descended, placed a hand upon his forehead. Another personage then descended, and the first said, "This is my beloved Son. Hear him." He was told that his prayer had been heard and that he was to join none of them, meaning the churches. When he translated the book of Abraham later, he discovered that the account of Abraham's theophany includes the touch of the hand of Jehovah, and that when that occurred, the whole cosmos became available to him, and he saw in vision, in a vast vision, both the cosmos and the intelligences or spirits which had been designed to send into this earth. From that superb theophany, he now knew many things that changed perspective in religion. He knew that the Father and the Son, and the language of Paul, could be touched with the feeling of our infirmities. He learned that they felt and were moved by the anguish of their children. He knew that prayer was not to a distant first cause, but to one who heard gladly and responded. He knew that becoming as well as being was an appropriate word to use, for it was clear to him that these two personages who looked so similar that he could not distinguish one from the other, and was only able to discern by reason of the gesture. He knew that when Jesus had said, "He that hath seen me hath seen the Father," this was true, not because of a metaphysical mystery of oneness, but because they were in exact similitude of each other. He knew that prayer could go through Christ to the Father, and that when he later wrote the kind of prayer that Christ offers for us, It meant, among other things, listen to him who is your advocate with the Father. An advocate is one who cares and who seeks to mediate. Listen to him who was without sin. And then the prayer, spare these, my Father, that they may come unto thee. He knew that those who used pulpit resonance words for seeking to show reverence for God had somewhat distorted the ultimate judgment of God. For example, that when the word omniscience is used, it includes the knowing of person to person, and not the knowing of a distant mystery of a cause. He knew that when the word omnipresent is used for God, it does not refer to the personalities. It refers to the emanation, the glory, the light which fills the immensity of space. He knew that when words like omnipotent or almighty are used for God, they mean that he has all the power it is possible to have in a universe of independent selves. And later in Revelation, it is made clear to him that God and even the creation of God involved the use of pre-existent element, eternal elements, and that there was something about man that is intelligent and self-existent, even as is the nature of God. He even was able to say at the very end of his life that this and its implications is the great secret, even though it has been taught and is visibly taught in the New Testament. It has been confused to the point that, as one writer has said, the God of the philosophers is not available for religious purposes. Joseph Smith's prayer life ever after had been changed. His response to words like love and joy and peace was now the outcome of a genuine encounter with the source of them. He was able to say in testimony, and not just in speculation, that he came out of the grove and that the Spirit of love rested upon him and filled him for many days, and that he could rejoice with great rejoicing. The vision is one powerful foundation in his life, but he also had vision in the sense of perspective that reached to eternity. Thy mind, O man, he once said, must stretch as high as the utmost heavens and search into and contemplate the darkest abyss. Thou must commune with God. And in this grove, for himself and for his family, he began that communion. In a later revelation, the prophet is told, that which doth not edify is darkness. That which is of God is light. And he that receiveth light and continueth in God receiveth more light, and that light groweth brighter and brighter until the perfect day. We learn from the study of physics that light, the white light, contains within it all the different colors of the rainbow. One wonders if the glory that he saw that day was so inclusive and also majestic. It also follows that we can increase by degrees in our spiritual lives from a condition of somewhat enlightened to more and more so. Then it says, the light which shineth, which giveth you light, is the same light that quickens your understandings. And quicken means, I take it, both intensifies, but also speeds up our comprehension. The promise is given in that same revelation that the day can come when we will comprehend even God. Light seems to be identified in the revelations with love. It is also clear from the teaching of the prophet, and this has a root in Isaiah and also in the experience here, that God, quote, dwells in everlasting burnings. I've sometimes said the prophet Joseph Smith took the classical doctrine of hell and turned it into heaven, because the notion is that the maximum of light, and if you will, heat, is celestial, and the place of the adversary, darkness. When people say it will be a cold day in hell, it probably will be. Darkness, clammy, grim darkness. I've read a Scientific American magazine that says that they have discovered with the new Hubble telescope stars that are 1 trillion times brighter than our sun. And the prophet Joseph, working with the manuscripts about Abraham, read that apparently the Lord has had to curtain or veil this earth from the kinds of radiation that are out there, else we could not survive. But someday, this earth will be repositioned, and it will become itself a celestial orb filled with celestial burnings. We have many witnesses who were close to the prophet and experienced with him counsel, experienced with him a setting where he is receiving a revelation and they are present, and even converts who came and sat in a meeting with him and listened to his testimony. And in different words, they say over and over that his face sometimes shone. Brigham Young said, we could tell when the spirit of revelation was upon him because his face had a peculiar transparency. In one case, the prophet spoke of darkness, and he once said that light stirs up darkness. But if that happened, that itself was an indication that something was about to happen which would involve light and truth. And in one instance, when he hears by mail that Heber C. Kimball, over on a mission in Britain, had been buffeted and had struggled with darkness. He said later to Heber, I rejoiced when I heard that, because I knew that the gospel would now go forward in England. Light conquers darkness, and his experiences were not theoretical, they were actual. Now, in section 93, there are several passages about light. For example, it says intelligence or the light of truth was not created. Goes on to say the glory of God is intelligence, and says further that light and truth forsake, which is to say, leaves behind darkness or that wicked one. He knew that from the day he knelt in this grove. Section 93 also says that intelligence will be ultimately known as the uncreated power in every man, and implies that we all have it at birth, and that intelligence cleaves to intelligence, which is to say unites with, just as two candles brought close together become one flame. Light cleaves unto light. Joseph knew that in this grove.